Let me know when we live. Oh, we live. Hi, everyone. We want to welcome everybody to Community Conversations here with Unity. We have two special guests, honorary guests, um, who are near and dear to our heart. Um, these gentlemen, just a short intro, these gentlemen have created new pathways of parenting, of life, and success, and it's just been a journey, and I've been honored to hear their journeys, be part of their journeys. But the title of tonight's conversation is creating new pathways, life of an outlaw. When I was researching what an outlaw is, it gave me a better understanding of one of our guests here. His name is Ghetto Child, and how he kind of made his way through life with his own rules. And it wasn't to break the law, and it wasn't to be like this nuisance to society. It was to progress and to persevere through all his trials of life, and to be a phenomenal father and a husband and a role model. I mean, we've been through some things, man. We've been through some
Yeah,
things. But
yeah,
part of this journey of life was seeing him persevere through the struggles. Um, Not to say we're not grown and we don't have alcohol beverages and we still don't, we vibe. I vibe with Gilbert. We have our little, our little beverage or whatnot and enjoy our lives, but we do it responsibly and know at the end of the day, um, we're parents and we're mothers and we're fathers, and we put that as a priority. So being an outlaw is making that pathway on your own rules. And so tonight, in honor of early Father's Day, I have two phenomenal fathers here, and this is just a convo of how you guys been through it, your success of your parenting, and what inspired me, just so the audience knows, was Ghetto Child was on. He's a Chicano rapper, and he was on a podcast the other day, and he was talking about, like, everybody's out here flexing these gold diamond chains. He goes, I'm flexing my kids' medals. And that to me was so powerful. They're graduating with honors. And when society sees him as a menace to society because he's tattooed, and they have this envision of him, not knowing his struggles, but not also knowing his successes of being a parent, having two children, honor roll student, medals, straight A's, that is impactful to our community. Because of what he went through, his children are doing great. And so that inspired this podcast today, and how we create new pathways for our children. And we're our own outlaws, right?
that's right.
So
That's right. That's right.
let's, let's have Ghetto Child introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, yeah. So I appreciate first and foremost, let me say I appreciate you, G, Gloria, you know what I mean? You and your man, for sure. You guys you always show me love, and I appreciate you guys having me on your podcast. Um, you know, my journey has been a long one. If a lot of people don't know it, but I've known Gloria. So Gloria, I call G. So I've known Gloria
You can keep the
since.
G because we're
Okay,
family.
okay, for sure. All right, now I'm gonna keep it G. So I've been knowing G for a long time since I was a little kid, and so she's been there through a good amount of time of my life, and but I had it hard coming up, coming from a broken home and living in the streets. Music, was a big part of my life through all of that mess and all of my ups and downs, but it was a long time coming, and I have learned a lot of lessons since then till now. And with this new action that I'm giving now, especially coming out and let everybody know my story about my life and my background, and how I'm sober now. No, I don't do drugs. How accomplished my family is, my kids, and myself. With that being said, like, that's one of my biggest accomplishments. So I'm just happy, and I appreciate you guys having me on here. And but yeah, I'm wearing them right now. What you're talking about, the award for my kids. I'm wearing it right here around my neck. And I have jewelry. You know, I love gold, and I have my own gold and whatnot. But it doesn't make me as excited to wear that around my neck than this does, because you know, these two symbols right here. There's two of them. Just so everybody knows, there's two of them. It's a big thing because there's a lot of people from our past, and G would, you know, she could acknowledge it, that there's a lot of people from where we come from that don't get a chance to, you know, graduate, go to school, get good grades, or you know, a lot of them come from broken homes or single parent homes or whatnot. So it's very difficult. So for me to be able to, you know, give the kids to give the knowledge to my kids about, you know, the street life and how I don't want them to be involved in that. It's a big thing for me. So I'm proud to wear these around my neck. And yeah, so I'm Ghetto Child. And that's my rap name. I've been rapping for a long time. So like I said, music was a big part of it. But that's pretty much sums it up in like in a fast bunch, real quick. You know?
Right? That's a big flex around your neck. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's not easy. It's not easy coming from, you know, I was fortunate to have both of my parents in my home, and like you, my dad changed the pathway for us. You know what I'm saying? My dad was like, "You ain't gonna be running these streets. You ain't gonna be out here kicking it with my homies, because if I find out, they're gonna bring me back home." And at the time, I didn't understand. I would thought, "Man, my dad is so mean, and why can't I just go out here in the streets and party with his homeboys?" And he's like, "No, I did that so you didn't have to do that." And so seeing that flex around your neck, that's an honor. You know, to
Most
when my
definitely.
daughter graduated with honors as well, I was like, you know what? Let me do this.
That's right.
Let me
That's
do,
right.
let me do that, because too many times, like you say, in our communities, kids are influenced by violence, and they're influenced by even the lifestyles that we used to show around them. You know what I'm saying? But you know, we showed them you don't have to go that route because we did it already. So you don't got to do that no more. Um, let's have Gilbert introduce himself and do a small intro, but we're going to keep this conversation going. I have questions for you guys too. Go
Okay.
ahead, Gilbert.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. What's going on, folks? So as G mentioned, I also call her G. You know, we got some
That's
years in the
family.
game together. Yes,
Yes.
indeed. Yes, Lord. My name is Gilbert Johnson. I'm a native of South Central Los Angeles. Grew up in the Hyde Park community most of my life. Moved all over South Central LA. Lived in many different hoods. And I heard a lot of similarities in your story, Ghetto Child, to mine. You know, just growing up without a father, never knowing him, never seeing a picture of him, never talking to him. It contributes to a sense of feeling like a failure, you know, insecurities, abandonment. And then when you add on the fact that my mother was a crackhead and a prostitute and out there in the streets, and my dad was a John, and all this stuff I found out later, I grew up with a lot of anger and resentment and just hatred towards my parents. But thank God for my grandmother, who was just a strong black woman who wasn't going to let me fall a victim to DCFS and the system like my mother and her siblings did. All my uncles, aunties, and mom went through the system, and they were literally failed. I mean, raped, molested as kids, the whole nine. So that trauma
Mhm.
that they dealt with back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, they never got over it. And, you know, multiple uncles died from alcoholism. My mama died from an overdose about 4 or 5 years ago. And it's just a lot of family issues, dysfunctionality
Mhm.
that I grew up navigating, and just growing up in a gang infested community, or not gang infested, but a community that was being, you know, just overrun by too many police, way too many police. But we had the poorest schools. Our stores were
Mhm.
trash. You know, they were serving us meat that had dye in it to look like it was healthy meat or not rancid, right? You know, we had liquor
Wow.
stores everywhere. South Central was the epicenter of the crack cocaine epidemic. So most of my family at one point were on crack or alcohol, some type of drug. So, you know, grew up getting in trouble at a young age, suspended in elementary school, kicked out of high school, probation, eventually locked up. in the LA County jail system, and then sent to San Luis Obispo, and just went through all that. My years of gang banging, drug addiction, myself, homelessness, to really find my way through community, and actually an organization in the heart of South Central called Community Coalition. That's the organization that gave me a shot and didn't see me as my criminal record. They didn't see me as a gang member. I had long braids, the hood right here. I was sagging and all that when I first got connected to that agency, but they taught me about systemic racism and how the conditions a lot of us grew up in the black and brown community, it was socially engineered and created by design. And when I started learning that and learning more about the Black Panthers and all these movements that really fought against white supremacy and capitalism, that changed my whole life. And that's really when I started changing my ways. I met my wife, my beautiful wife, Jasmine, who Gloria knows. We've been
Mhm.
married together now for 16 years, and we got 6 kids that I'm so proud to be a father of, and a husband too, And so a whole lot more could be said, from extreme poverty to now working in the mayor's office and leading all the reentry work for the city of LA and the mayor's office of community safety. It's just a true testament to what you can do when you put your faith in God and stay dedicated and motivated in a positive fashion. So I'll just leave it at
So,
that.
so one thing that, well, there's several things that you guys have in common. You guys said you're both from the streets. You both had addictions. Um, but you're both homeowners, right?
Yes, yes,
Child,
yes, yes,
child
ma'am.
bought his home. He impresses me. I'm like, I grew up with him. When I first met my brother Child, he was homeless. Him and his two brothers. There was three brothers on the block. You would
Yeah,
never know they were homeless because they had the shiniest white shoes and the shiniest white laces.
that's right.
They were always creased up. Very, very respectful from the time I met them. If you offer something, oh no, thank you, or oh yes, please. Very respectful. And these were three boys alone, homeless, but you would have never known because they were the sharpest and the most respectful. The village became their family. That meaning us, people on the block, we were their family. But when he bought his first house, I'm like, damn, I've been working all my life. I haven't even got one yet. You know? And I'm like, how is this happening? My formula is not working. But what I seen in your guys' formula was marriage, struggle, success, strength, honor, and perseverance. And I was like, man, these two men are so familiar and so similar in so many ways. And this is what we're lacking in our communities. We're lacking strong men like yourselves who are taking full accountability of what's theirs.
Most
And I
definitely.
commend you. How long you been
I
with
don't
your
mean
wife, child?
so I didn't mean to cut you off, G. Yeah, so I've been with my wife now. We've been together over 20 years, but we've been married for like 17, 18 years already.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been with me since before my little brothers passed away. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I praise her so much. Her name is Susie. But she's down. She's my like my best friend when what I mean, because everything I've been through, from my lowest point to my craziest point, to me being immature, to me going back and forth into the county, back and forth to my neighborhood, in the streets, when I was my addictions, my alcohol, being an alcoholic, through all and mostly I'm not saying a lot of downs, but on my fault, my end of the stick, my fault, my downs. She's always stood there, and she's been writing it out with me, and she makes me happy because even now, what we're in our second home now. So I have bought one home,
Mm-hmm.
and I had it for a long time, and then I wanted to double it up. So I got a little bit of knowledge that I learned from new knowledge from owning property and about your credit and working, and I took it with the old knowledge that I used to have, like being in the streets and trying to make it. I just put the two together to make a better outcome and use it in the right way, not use it in the wrong way. So me
Mhm.
being one of the first ones in my family, probably the only one in my family who owns a home, and me, like you said, I didn't even go to high school. I the last grade I went to was in junior high off of the block right there in Amani, Madrid, junior high. I didn't even get to finish junior high, because I was on the run before eighth grade finished. But for me to go through all that, and it's something I never wanted my kids to have, and I wanted my kids to eventually have, like a home. And this is after I had my kids, so it was
Mhm.
very important. And me not having my father in my home, and me coming from a broken home, eventually where my both parents were gone and me and my brothers were on our own. I definitely didn't want my kids to go through that. I wanted to be a different person for them. So, and I was still battling with my demons as far as the streets and drinking and
Mhm.
partying and kicking it and all that. And but my wife, she supported me through everything, and so did my kids. And I'm thankful for them and everybody else. But and even G's been a part of my life the whole time. Ever since I've known G, she's always been there for me. The same thing. And there's certain people in my life that I have like that, that I consider them real close, and they look at me for me. And but yeah, me and my wife been together for a long time, like 17, 18 years married.
Mhm.
Just like Gilbert said, him and his wife the same thing. So we know what we're talking. I mean, we can feel each other what we're saying. And I love her, and I just appreciate her and all the women in my life that continue to deal with me even now. Because I'm very hyped up, and everybody knows how I am. But I appreciate her and everything that she's done for me, and you too, G. You know what's up.
Yeah, it's not easy. Trust me. You know, it took a strong woman. It takes strong women to hold on, and those medals around your neck, and even Gilbert homeschooling his kids with his wife. That takes a team. It takes partnership. It takes your best friend. It takes loyalty, respect. Um, and we don't see that here. You guys are dinosaurs right now. I'm talking to two legends in the game of fatherhood. Real talk. I mean, there's very few that are in our circle, like Terrence Stewart. We see these people who are making new pathways of parenting, so their kids will be better parents, right? So, I mean, it's been amazing to see this journey. And with Child, his wife is my second cousin, so we family. You know,
Yeah,
there there is a bloodline in there. We share great
yeah,
grandmothers and aunties and cousins and stuff. But I've always seen Child as a brother. When my kids didn't have a father and they didn't have father figures, just so Gilbert knows a little bit, I was a single parent, partying, doing what I had to do, but they always stepped in as my village. They were my kids' mentors. You know, growing up, they would make sure my girls are always safe, and they would tell my girls growing up, my daughters remember this. Like, if anybody messes with you, they got to come to us. When my daughter graduated, or my oldest lost her father, they were right there to make sure she had those men in her life to still pour into her in her vessel and her cup that was emptying. Her father was her everything. So they really were impactful to my daughters, who are very respectful women, and they made sure that there was no lack of a male role model in their life. So I'm appreciative to them, wholeheartedly. Um, Mr. Woods, you have some questions?
Um, I don't really have questions because I'm always talking about old Gilbert. But as far as child me myself, um, watching him in his journey, man, as far as I've known him, uh, it's never been awkward. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Mhm.
I can hang out with child and we chill out, listen to music. Hey, Marcus, listen to this shit. Like that's the type of person that that he is. You know what I mean? When he say he hype, he is. He's serious, but he's hyper when he's serious. Like it's really something that he wants to get into. Then he has a lot to say about it. You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure those that's listening can actually hear it in him. He got a lot he want to say. You know what I mean? And he don't know how to push it out in one whop. You know, to a point. Uh, but my question to you would be, um, as far as the theme of Outlaw, what does that mean to you?
So for me, outlaws. It means like brotherhood. It means brotherhood. It means it means being honest. It means integrity. It means hardworking. It means defense. It means offensive. There's a lot of things that can contribute to the word outlaw when it coming from somebody like me. But it mostly definitely means brotherhood, and being better, being a better person, giving the best game you could to the people around you, under you. Especially if you're older and you're able to make it to somebody like my age. I'm 39. I'll be 40 this year, and to make it that long as an outlaw, and me, it's a very special thing, So it's a big thing. It's brotherhood, unity. It means unity, just like you guys show, just like the podcast, just like what you guys represent. It means unity, and because outlaws are all over the world, all over the ghettos, all over the world, all in every state, in every country, every continent. There's outlaws all over the place, and these are the good men out there. These are the good men that are in bad situations or bad environments, and they continue to strive to be better. So that's what outlaw means.
How about you, Gilbert?
Yeah,
The
well, I
life of
first
an
want to back
outlaw.
up a bit and give huge shout outs and flowers to my beautiful black queen, Jasmine. I love the way you was uplifting your wife, brother's child, and I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without her. Just keeping it a stack. So, so proud of how far we've come because we used to be homeless, sleeping hotel to hotel and living on county vouchers. And she had never committed any crimes, but I did. And because of my mistakes and screw ups, she was impacted by that, And so to be a homeowner and yeah, so I just want to shout out my queen too, Gloria Marcus. Y'all know Jasmine. Y'all know how real she is. She from the east
Yeah.
side of Compton. And
Yes,
so,
Lord.
That's right.
yeah, I
That's
knew you
right.
was gonna feel that.
Shout out your wife. Shout out your
But
My
queen.
the
folks, that's my
the
folks
hub
right
and the dub, what's up,
Mhm.
all that, the hub
That's
and the
right.
dub.
That's right.
Yeah,
there. Hey, hey,
nah, oh, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, so just on the outlaw, I mean, the first word that jumped in my mind was rebel. You know what I'm saying? Like you rebel against the systems that are oppressing us,
Mhm.
and I used to be a rebel in a negative way, but now I'm a rebel in a positive way because I'm showing all the youngsters and all the folks out there who growing up in a situation like I grew up in that you don't have to do that type of activity. You can actually fly right, and that's cool. It ain't nothing wrong with going to
Mhm.
school and getting your education. It ain't nothing wrong with getting a 9 to 5 or starting up your own business. Um, to me, that's rebelling or being an outlaw to the system because the system wants us to be a failure. They want us to be independent. They want us to be locked
Mhm.
up behind bars. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Or
Or
another
broken
statistic.
families.
Broken
Yep.
family, right? We breaking generational
Mhm.
curses. This is what I'm talking about. This is
Mhm.
what it is.
Yes, sir.
And the family structure that we needed but didn't have, now we creating that. That's outlaw shit. I'm sorry. Can we cuss on here? Now
You can cut.
I'm
You can say
sorry.
whatever you need
I'm
to
getting
on for
getting a
yourself.
little passionate about it because when
Yeah.
I think about like Robin Hood. Robin Hood was an outlaw, but he was stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, right? But a lot of the times we get demonized and it's just seen as a negative thing to be an outlaw or a rebel. But if you flip that narrative and you actually doing good with it, to me that's what it's all about, you know.
I mean, I think
Definitely.
I think society's seen that word outlaw as a negative thing, right? But there were so many outlaws before us who changed the system for us to be even together, united, like he said, in unison of black and brown, to be in the same building, in the same structure, in the same movement. So, I always admired a child when I would laugh because he would have all these homies around him and he would have expectations like
Yeah,
like a dictator. Like, you ain't
yeah.
working? Motherfucker, no, you're gonna get a job. In order to kick it in this crew, to be an outlaw, you're gonna have a job. And I'm like, look at little Hitler over here. He was hashing it out. Like, you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that. And he would be in their face. Like, he had expectations to be in his circle. And I'm like, this fool's crazy. I don't want to be an outlaw. But I didn't have the understanding of what he meant to be an outlaw was to be in this circle. You have to have that unity. We all have to be as one and move as one. Because if you're doing something bad, it's a reflection on me and how I look. So
Yeah.
if if his crew was not working, it was an expectation. No, you're gonna take care of your family. You're gonna make family a priority. Like, he had all these expectations of just being in his circle and his presence, and I'm thinking like, this fool's really crazy.
And you know what? I get all that, and if we're speaking about figures that we looked up to, outlaws in the past, in the history. So, if, right behind me, yeah, you guys could probably see it, barely not, but it's my Tupac. My Tupac picture, and
Yep.
I have my Tupac pictures like everywhere in my house. So, but I've always been like that because he's a person who inspired me the most, especially with the outlaw. Being an outlaw, because me not having a dad or any type of father figure to show me what it was, and how to be a better person. Me listening to his music and everything he was talking about, like, it hit so close to home, and he was a big influence in my life, and he's the one. When I listen to his lyrics and I really listen to the music, he's talking about my struggle, but he's talking about me bettering myself from my struggle and being the example, and like, so Tupac for sure. Machiavelli was one of the great legends, and it will always be a great legend, and I'm pretty sure he inspired everybody on his chat in some way or some sort.
Hmm.
So shout out to Tupac.
I know. For me, right, I grew up, in the era of Tupac. I went to prison in 95 when Me Against the World that barely came out. You know what I mean? Like, I was a little young whippersnapper running around the street, running away from home, thinking I knew it all. You know what I mean? At that time, and listening to Tupac, it kind of kept me sane at times. Because he was speaking me. You know what I mean? What he was saying it's somewhat what I wanted to say, you know what I mean? And I couldn't say in many instances, but he kind of brought that out, you know what I mean? And that's for an entire generation beyond, you know what I mean? So when you put yourself in a position to understand what it means to be an outlaw or a rebel, as far as that, just kind of, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but kind of talk about the people who are around Tupac that kind of embraced you, and gave you a little more positivity in the movement.
Yeah, most definitely. So, Tupac had his group. His group were called the Outlaws. And he had Idi Amin, Hussein Fatal, Yaki Gaddafi, Castro, Napoleon, Young Noble. A lot of not a lot of, but a few of these guys that were in the group are no longer alive. So they're no longer here. Rest in peace to them. But there are a few members that are still alive, and Young Noble, he's one, and Idi Amin, he's another one. I've always been inspired by them and everything they were doing, and how they always kept it positive through all their ups and downs, and them dealing with the Tupac and him dying, and they're them going from being, they're millionaires. These are artists that have been around. They're platinum selling artists. They've been all over the world. They still go on tour now. I was, and the whole time I'm listening to them, they just always inspired me to make music. So as I got older, I started making music, and I was putting it out there. And then, like Instagram came around, and and you're able to communicate more, even more with the outside world and people you could probably never thought you would be able to get a hold of. And me, I would just always, send things to their account and just hopefully one day that they might just check it out and maybe even give me a like, and that's all. I would have been grateful. But I was putting my music out, and they end up liking my stuff, and not only liking my stuff, but then I was able to, they got a hold of me, and then they gave me their number, and then I talked to them on the phone, and we did a video chat, and then we exchanged numbers, and then they just told me to call them whenever I need any type of game, or if whatever I got going on. So that blew my mind. I was like, these are the guys that I looked up to, and this is Tupac's. This is Tupac's Outlaws, and me and my
Mhm.
brothers before they passed away, we were rapping. We're rapping, but we're the young Outlaws, and so they took note to that, and they seen just how genuine we were when with our story and what we're talking about and our background that we come from and what we're trying to do now that we were older. They really embraced us. And like I said, I got to go to the studio and do some music with them, and them being involved in my life now. And it's been back since like maybe like 2016, 2017 when I actually got a chance to like talk to them. So for me listening to them back in 90s, 90, early 90s, 92, 90, like 3 and all that, 94, 95, to actually get a hold of them in 2018 and them embrace me, and then me be able to meet them and go to a couple shows and a couple events with them. It was a great thing. So that just I want to, with that being said, I want to tell everybody else that's watching it, if you inspired to meet somebody or somebody inspires you, and you want to go out and try to connect with this person, especially now, go ahead and try to do it as much as you can, because you never know what could happen, and especially you keeping it
Mhm.
positive, doing your thing. That person that you look up to, they just might reach out, back to you, and then give you that game, or just give you that, that good, hand, and be like, keep going, doing what you're doing. It's a grateful thing, and I'm grateful to God. I'm grateful because God
Mhm.
allowed that to happen to me. And with that, it blew my mind to be able to connect with the people I adore and I look up to, and the ones that would make me continue making music. It was a big thing. So Young Noble and EDI, they're still around and they're doing their things. Young Noble, they're on tour right now. But yeah, so they're still around. Young Noble and EDI, they're a part of the original Outlaws. But I'm connected in and I'm tapped in with them, and they embrace me and my brothers and what we're doing. So most definitely. But those are the two of the original group.
What I just learned from what you just said, maybe Gilbert could tap into, was it didn't take your father to help create you to be a great father. Your influence was music and artists, someone with true integrity who shared similarities of a life story and a struggle. He was impactful to putting those gems into you being a father, of being a true outlaw. And that just tripped me out. Like, Tupac really influenced who you are as a male in this community. Gilbert, did you have a male that, or an a rapper, or anybody who influenced you, or music, or who was your male influence to
Oh,
being who you are?
definitely Pac. That was, if you grew up in South Central and Pac wasn't your favorite rapper, I don't know what you was on.
Right?
All my cousins, like that's who we. I'll throw Cube in there, and then Snoop came along more on the like kind of flashy, but just raw, thugged out, outlaw. I'm thinking of the song "Made Niggas" when you started naming all the rappers. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like it took me back a little bit. So definitely Pac. But I was always a fan of E40, 40 Water, because he
Oh
used to
yeah.
have
Mhm.
music. He was teaching us game, like how to make a. Can you make, well, what he say in one of his songs? Can you make a G look like $10,000? And just teach you how to hustle and flip money and things of that nature. And so those were like my two favorite rappers. And then you got my brother, the Tupac of my generation, Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace. Ermias Askedomer, who we used to call Erm. I grew up with that dude, and he was just always a solid individual. Stayed down 10 toes no matter what, and he also, you could hear the Pac, you can hear the knowledge and the wisdom in his lyrics, though it was still
Mhm.
getting some gang shit going on at the same time. But just seeing him from, that youngster just ciphering, not even gang banging yet, to that full fledged member. Oh my bad. And then transitioning out of that too, because if when he was taken from us, his demise was way too early. He was low key. He wasn't out there just frontline neighborhood. Woo, woo, woo. He had started to make that transition into like a business mogul. He had investments in crypto. He was showing up to city council meetings in CD8. I know because I was there. We were organizing peace marches at Crenshaw High School with Kobe Bryant and forget old girl, but the radio dude who lost all that weight on Power 106. I'm blanking
Big
on
Big
his
boy.
Big boy.
boy,
Big
Big
boy.
boy. Like we
big
were
Yeah.
boy.
doing like really dope community stuff that was building up the community, giving folks jobs, investing in Hyde Park Elementary, redoing their whole basketball court. Like this is stuff that the average artist, what you don't really see doing that much in
Mhm.
a community. And so just to see the transition all the way until he was taken from us, I'll say he was definitely a role model in many aspects, and like the outlaw and the Pac of my generation. So I just had to shout out my bro Nip, because we're gonna keep the marathon going, and still got businesses popping. You got the Marathon Burger now opening,
Right?
Mhm.
and it's fire. If you ain't been, you gotta go. It's bomb.
Hey,
So
Really?
shout out
Hey,
Nipsey Hussle, RIP Nip.
don't be telling me about no food right now, sir.
Ah, they got the bomb smash burger. Yeah.
straight up,
Really?
straight up, yeah.
Yeah, him and Black Sam right there. He doing his thing. Yeah. Yeah, so
Hey,
And
You know what I see right here, Mike. For those that's watching that might miss it, like you have individuals who literally was part of violence and now in turn are telling you right now, you don't need that violence from experience. You know what I mean? It's like I know for myself, man, like, I don't speak on it much, but as far as being a rebel or outlaw, I ran away from home at 14. I haven't been home since. You know what I mean? And I lived in parks. I lived in garages on benches, and things like that because I didn't want to go home, bro. Like I wanted to hang out in the streets. So when it was time to go home and everybody else was going home, my mama wouldn't let me in the house. I was supposed to be in there by curfew or nothing else. You know what I mean? It's just like, you can't come home. And if she decide to let you in, ain't no coming in here eating no food, nothing. Everything cleaned up. Don't touch my kitchen. Go to your room, do what you got to do, and get on. So I mean,
yeah,
I think in many ways, like, for me, like I say, you have three individuals, that were, outside of, Gloria right here that have been incarcerated, can actually tell you something that's true and correct about what's happening in the streets today and what's happening. You got people on here who can tell you something about how to organize in your community. You know what I mean? Like it's a far-fetched idea in 1995 when I went to prison that I would actually see myself doing half the things that I do today, bro. And it's a blessing, and if I can help somebody, you know, I'm doing it. It's no questions asked. You know what I mean? If I got it, you got it.
that's
And
right.
that's how it's supposed to be, bro. And if we could find ways to get out of the gossip and the politics, into our own communities to the point where we can teach them how to build the economy, how to, come together and understand how to take care of one another rather than looking for the government to do so. These are things that we should be able to teach our communities and take to our communities. Fuck all that gossip. We don't need
Yeah.
to hear the, no, celebrity isn't what it's supposed to be, bro. Because if they were real celebrity, they would be, if these people have all this money, that they talk about and brag about, then their job literally, bro, is to put that, put something back in your community so they can help uh create those economies and those systems. Like, I don't want to be a
Mhm.
judicial slave all my life. I don't want to have to say, I was in prison damn near 20 years, man, and this happened. I went through this journey, but that's a part of me. I could never get that, and restructure my life to say it never happened. You know what I mean? I would be, it wouldn't be part of me. So I'm glad, in many ways, that I went to prison. I went as a kid. Had I went as an adult, I'd probably be like most of these people that still got their B numbers. You know what I mean? They still going back and forth to prison today. They still haven't found home within. You know what I mean? And I ain't gonna say I found a perfect home inside myself. Because I'm still working. You know what I mean? I'm still working on me. Every day I wake up and go to sleep. There's probably a fight in my brain, to tell me to do something that I shouldn't. But the progress is in me understanding that and deterring, that evil thought for something positive.
And you know
Being a
what?
new
And
wife,
and
that's hard.
and what the, and what
So I commend
uh,
Jasmine. I commend Susie because as a queen and as a wife, going through, listening and going through it with you, it's frustrating for us. You know, we're trying to hold you up and we feel like we're drowning. We got, the kids on us, we got work. We're trying to hold you up just to get a breath so we can breathe. So I commend those ladies holding
Talk,
on and
talking
staying
about me, y'all.
true.
I just want y'all to know that she talking about me and the fact that I am hectic. You know what I'm saying? I get that. I'm a Scorpio who's hectic, but he is intelligent. You don't find many people in my brainstorm. I have a
that's right.
brainstorm that she works with, bro,
They're not
and
Scorpios and they've probably been through the same hecticness as
no, but I
you.
mean, no, I mean, I say that because in a different realm, like I deal with a lot of stuff in my own self place. I isolate a lot, even still. So I can actually get clarity. I don't want to bend what I have going on in my brain onto you or anyone else. So like I say, like I really do need my space sometimes because I'm learning and I don't want to project that on nobody. You know what I mean?
Got
So now we got that
that's
out the
right.
way. That she talking about me, we can move on. Let's go.
No, I was talking about it because these gentlemen here, how they've changed that pathway, they had that partnership. And without that partnership, would both of you gentlemen be who you are today?
Nah, and me, to be honest with you, like me personally, I think that if I didn't have my partnership, I wouldn't even be talking with you guys, and I would have been dead a long time ago. And that's just the reality of for my own, like my own life, from where I was coming from before I met my wife, before even when we barely got together as boyfriend and girlfriend. If I didn't meet her, all I had was the streets, and there was nothing else for me before I met
Amen.
her, and the street took away my brother and my brothers, and I was most likely on the way on the no one next up to get taken away. So without my wife, I wouldn't have a good woman. I wouldn't have the life I have now. I wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't have started working. I wouldn't have got my license. I wouldn't have did nothing. So I don't. For me personally, I don't think if I definitely glad that I met my partner, and not only for the other two gentlemen on here, but I guarantee my wife she still gets stressed out about me because even though I'm trying to be, and I'm trying to be the best man I could be, and she loves me. She loves me. That's why I love her so much because I'm good now, and I'm straightened. I'm straightened out. But I still act wild and like myself, my ADHD
Mhm.
kicks in and she has to take control of it and she deals with it consistently now and my daughter my baby's only gonna be 5, so I think we're kind of both babies, because she's wild, my little baby, and I'm wild, and then my wife's still there, and then my wife has to deal with a lot. The other two teenagers, one that's about to get out of school, the other one that's starting working, and then me, her crazy husband, and then the baby. So shout out to my wife, Green Eye Susie. For
Yeah,
real.
I mean, I've been trying to tug Gilbert. Maybe you can help me, and Marcus, you can help me. I've been trying to tug our child for quite some time now to get him involved with Time Done and Survivor Speaks, only because he is a survivor. He has a brother doing life, right?
Yeah,
And he lost a brother to two brothers to gun violence, and
correct.
he just lost another brother to cancer. So there's been
Yeah,
a lot of turmoil upon his early stories of his personal struggles, but I've been trying to tell on him like, hey, let's go to Sacramento. Hey, I need you for this. Hey, I need you because I'm trying to bring him into our community. You hear his voice, and maybe you guys could give him some encouragement to shine light on those things, because healing process. I mean, for his wife, I could say, true testimony. When he was going through the struggles of losing his brothers, we almost lost him. That pain. I
Yeah.
don't know that pain, and it hit personally, like to see my brother losing his mind because of his losing his all his family. He felt like that's it. I lost them all. What more to live for? And his wife is like, gee, I'm praying for him. I'm trying to hold on. It's just so hard. I don't want to lose him. This is the father of my kids. And so maybe you gentlemen can just spread some knowledge of how he can be impactful in those purposes in that community.
Take off, Gilbert.
Hey, man, I love this space though. Y'all been dropping gems like a mug for real, and it's inspiring, And I feel like just how far we've come ain't no ceilings. With your music career, all your aspirations, like it's no stopping you. You the only person that can stop you. You mentioned T Stu earlier. Ain't nothing I can't do. He got a program
Can't,
can't.
can't.
I can't. I cannot. It's nothing I can't do. And I just feel like the more I entrench myself in being around like-minded people who had the similar struggles, similar pain, similar trauma, similar joys, maybe not seeing eye to eye on everything, maybe not being of the same faith or religious background or whatnot, but just people that see you for who you are, and really you could confide in, and people that walk with integrity and dignity and real genuine care. That's what's helped me on the path and journey that I've been on. And so you mentioned Survivor Speaks and Time Done. Like, that's, I can't speak too much on the Survivor side because I done had to stop some fights and that, some things at some of the
But
events. But at least for Time Done, we build a network of brotherhood and sisterhood, brother sisterhood, for people that have been locked up, been there, lived it, seen it, and done it. And and teaching us how to change laws and change policies and change records. Like, a lot of the times we talked about, like, being involved with these movement building spaces. Growing up, I wasn't into voting. The first
Say
time I
that.
voted was for Obama, and it's because he was a black man. He was the first black man that was, on a ballot in my lifetime, or since I was a baby. And so when I started learning about the power in our vote, the power in us stepping up and talking to the governor and assembly members and senators and mayors and city council members and board of supervisors, like, I realized, like, damn, we really have the power to change this shit. We can really tear down and reshape systems to what we want them to be and how we want them to impact our communities in a positive manner. And so, I just gotta echo what you said, G, about Time Done, because it's a great agency organization to get connected with, clearing records, getting folks jobs, member benefits and perks, all that kind of stuff. But it's more about the camaraderie that we build. Like it takes me back to some of the movements of old, when people just was down for the cause and didn't really care uh, what opposition presented itself. Like, you may
Hmm.
tell us, no, we can't pass this law this time. We're gonna come back stronger next year, and then we're gonna
Being
double
an
back the
outlaw.
following year. You feel me? That's exactly that's outlaw shit right there.
That's right.
And so I
Real talk.
wanted to talk a little bit about the civic power that we
Well,
have in exercising our voice and getting involved in those type of movement spaces. It's really real and it's powerful.
first child,
Yeah.
I think you've seen a lot of the work that we do. We were fighting for some lifers to come home. We've seen a lot of lifers come home, and you're the voice of your brothers who are not here, and you're the voice of your brother who's behind that wall. And when I take his brothers behind me on my banner, it's an honor. It's really an honor to to even though he's gone, I taking his picture to Washington D.C. And when I'm talking to these politicians, I'm Sykes. You know, I'm I'm his voice. Like his brother's name was Sykes. I'm his voice. Like, no, we need to change these laws to benefit our community and to benefit these families and bring our brothers and sisters home. Just because you do something bad doesn't make you a bad person all the time. I'm here to testify. There's three men on this podcast who did something doesn't make them a bad father. It actually made them a great father and a great person in their community. So I'm gonna keep tugging on you, child.
All right. Hey, you know
Well,
what? I want to say, just real quick. You know what? Yeah, she's been doing the unity and her and her man since I for a good minute. Yeah, since I won't say where we live, but since for a minute, and you know, knowing but she's always been smart. All right, she's always been smart and intelligent, and she's always used her brain and compared to where we came from, I just want to let you know, G, like I'm very proud of you and your man. You guys do make a difference, and even invited me to come on this podcast. I put it on my Instagram and all that, So a lot of people are tuning in, or they're gonna tune in because I shared it. I just appreciate you guys doing this and what you guys are doing for all the people around you guys and even my brother, that have passed away, but just the audience, I want the audience to know that G still tugs on me, as much as she can to be involved, and most definitely. So this is why I chose to do the podcast today, and I just hope that my involvement with doing this podcast and everybody else watching that they hear the stories, and I appreciate Gilbert and both of the guys on here too. Giving letting me giving me game and sharing with me your story. I didn't know you're with Gilbert. I didn't know you like Nipsey Hussle and all them. And me and speaking of Nip, like me and Nipsey Hussle are the same age. And he was doing great things for his community, and the same with G. And with Unity in this podcast. So I just want to say that I appreciate you guys, and you guys continue doing great for the community. Appreciate it.
well, you inspired me to want to be an outlaw. So where do I
That's
sign up? Have I always been? Is there a female outlaw? I know Susie is always outlawing it, and I see your kids doing outlaw. But
it.
I say that with true transparency of I believe what you stand for. And I've seen your journey of how that's inspired you, how Tupac, they used to call him Little Pac, how
Yeah,
Tupac inspired his pathway and made him an outlaw, but it inspired he Tupac was his daddy. Like real
yeah,
talk. Like
yeah.
the way he talked about it today is you don't have to have a daddy to be a daddy. And
One
that's what
hundred
this
percent.
community needs. That's what this community needs to hear. Stop making an excuse. Oh, I didn't have a daddy. No, you find a daddy in your community. There's Marcus's. There's Child. There's Gilbert. There's Terrence Stewart. There's so many daddies in this community who are doing it and who are paving new pathways for kids in our community to see that unity within black and browns. This is a true testimony right here. You got black and brown on the same
Yeah,
page, same
all day.
podcast, same unity. And with this podcast today, I hope you people who are watching, you understand how power works and how being an outlaw is a transformation of something positive, and don't see it as something negative. Um, I see little outlaws in your future. You might have like tiny outlaws coming soon. I don't know. You have young outlaws, you might have tiny outlaws. I mean,
I'm
the
looking
chains
forward to
around your neck.
it. I'm looking
You
forward to
might
it.
have,
You know.
Hey,
those
look,
medals around your
you know,
neck.
my boy, Gilbert got a whole basketball team. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So,
he
you
does.
know,
That's all.
you adding on to the family will be welcome. Marcus love the kids. So I enjoy and embrace the fact that every time I see one, and I'm saying this out from the heart, bro, and genuine shit. And Gilbert know this,
Yeah.
like his kids is like my little homies. You know what I mean? I see them,
Mhm.
and my protection mode go up too. So they don't only got their daddy, they got me. They got T Stoop. They got other people who are around them and know them. That if anything were to happen, like it takes a village, bro. Like for real. Like we have to
Mhm.
understand it takes a village. Like I say, I spent a whole lot of time in jail. I went as a kid. They didn't care about my life. It was supposed to be expendable. Let the system tell it. You know what I mean? I learned a new phrase today. It's called judicial slave, right? They were intending on all of us that they sent, with the three strikes law to just completely be judicial slaves, live under that mindset, hopefully some of us die in that motherfucker and we don't never come home. They was looking forward to that, bro. So in reality and understanding that, like I was a kid, literally, I keep saying this over and over for a reason. Like I was a child when I went to prison, right? I was a somebody's child. They can sit here and have resentencing hearings of from people who they now want to say did their crimes because they were kids in trauma in order to get them out. But that didn't happen until organizations like ours, like Time Done, like things like that started putting these things out there and letting people understand that information, bro. Like if I'm trying to tell you, to check out or be a part of Time Done. Like they got the little op-eds and things like that. I've said it before, bro. It's something everybody that's been formerly incarcerated need, bro, because you have people who come from our space, from our sets, from our hoods, black, Mexican, whatever it is, in these circles, bro. And it's time we understand it's not about division, bro, in our communities. We hurting us. And it's time for us to figure out and understand that, while we hurting us, somebody else is trying to hurt us because they think we blinded. And we need to put ourselves in a position to understand that change, so we can make it, as it should be. That's all I got to say. That's my
And
2 cents.
I think
Hey, that's way
one
real.
I
My
think one more
kids is
thing
over
is like,
here going in.
No
Hey,
worries. Look,
I'm a look. We was shouting out
they can come in,
live.
how high.
Yeah, I'm a Hey, this was beautiful. This is a blessing. This definitely gave me
Anytime.
life, y'all.
And then,
Appreciate
like, if y'all
you
got
the
some
invitation.
ideas and y'all want to have another one, spark another
Yeah,
conversation, hit me up. We can
you
bring the
know,
right people, and we can all just sit here and put it out there for the people to listen to now or later.
Most
So
yeah.
definitely.
we usually end this with a quote or
All right, all
inspirational.
right.
My quote is, my mom always tells me, my grandmother used to say this, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yes, Lord.
So it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And just you gentlemen on here, you're not even finished yet. You're not even midway yet. So I can't wait to see the finished product. Um, Child, hit us with the bar.
Give
All
us a
right.
bar, fool.
How about I give you guys? I want to end it. I want to join what you're doing. So can I end it with a quote myself?
Hit it.
Yes.
Okay. So it's very simple and straight to it. After every dark night, there's a bright day after that. And
Yes,
so keep
Lord.
Yes.
your head up, keep your chest out, and handle it.
Yes, Lord.
Yes. Gilbert, you got a quote?
Gilbert.
Yeah, I got to take it back to my bro Nip. It simply said, grind hard, stack your money, and stay out the way.
Yes, Lord.
Straight up.
Straight up. Period.
Mr. Woods. Mr.
Here.
Woods.
Well, for me, my quote is my own, man. Like in many ways, we born guilty, and it's high time that we figure out that we all we got, and we all we need. You know what I'm saying? So, with that said, man, I appreciate you dudes coming on here. I appreciate you, Gloria, for keeping the dream coming true for me with this unity stuff, man. I wouldn't even be here without the thoughtfulness and the calm that she has sometimes, you know what I mean? Because, there have been times when, I've like I say, man, I'm still healing, man. I've had run-ins with the police, and I've been out 10 years, or better, you know what I mean? It's something that I wasn't raised with. It was something that I actually they embedded most of this in me, bro. I was a straight A kid playing football, but I was still in the streets, but it was more trying to be in sports, So um like I say, man, I'm proud of you dudes, man. Both of you, I mean that from the heart. And I hope you dudes understand that. For everybody
Next
else,
time we need a queen session. Just I'm putting it out there. We need a queen session.
no,
That's
no, no,
right.
no, we
Like,
can't.
We need
Jasmine,
the
don't do it,
outlaw
Jasmine.
queen and Miss Johnson.
I'll let Susie know. I'll let Green Eyes know it's
yeah.
cracking.
Hey, we with
She
it.
right there.
We
She
with
just
it.
she just said she's
Okay.
proud of you, G.
That's right.
Hey,
Oh,
love
thank you,
facts,
cousin.
bro. Much
Queen
love, y'all.
Outlaw right there.
Much love.
You know
One
what I
love,
used to
one
ship out
thug,
real
much
quick?
love.
I used to get so mad because she'd be like, I want to be an outlaw. And try to be
I
like,
remember
you're
that day. I
never going to
remember that
be an
day.
outlaw. Stay in your place, woman. She's
I
like,
remember that
no,
day.
I want to be
Hey,
an outlaw.
bro,
Fuck
look,
that. And I would
what
be like,
she's saying,
Susie,
is true. Cause
no.
I used to be around when she would call and say, "Fuck that, I'm an outlaw too. He can't put me out."
Yeah.
I was around at times. You know
She
what I mean?
got
So, uh,
hey, so she's an outlaw because she got it tatted on her arm and everything.
yeah, she
That's
took
Yeah,
that.
she's a queen outlaw. That's the queen.
right. That's
But,
right.
but
She
I
needs to
don't want
put
to.
a
I don't
crown
want to
on that.
hold
Tell her to put a crown on that O.
weird.
Okay.
I want to give people their time back, their day back, and I want to
Okay.
appreciate everybody who decided to stop through and come through and listen to the Unity Community Conversations.
Yes. Thank you.
Um,
Thank you. Thank
Thank you.
you.
If you want to come and lend your voice to this space, hit us up, and we'll gladly make sure we get you in the space where you could talk to the people.
That's
Child,
right.
I'm proud of you, brother. I'm proud of you.
I appreciate
I'm
you
very
guys. Shout out to my community on the east side, all my homies from my hood, Michigan Avenue, all the people in San Gabriel Valley, all the people in the IE, all the people in High Desert. Shout out to the whole West Coast, to the whole world. So one love with Thug, everybody. Appreciate y'all.
all
Indeed.
right. Love ya.
All
Peace.
right, peace, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
All right.
you.